my dear. How are you? Hey, Anam, salam alaikum. Welcome. This is one wonderful gathering of all sons and daughters of Africa to continue with the tradition of storytelling. Now, this evening, again, I'm changing the names of the people in the story to protect them. All right, now the story I'm using a boy called Okwir. Okwir was living with his father, and he also had a grandmother. And you know how children are with their grandmothers. Now, one time, grandmother is passing by Okwir's father's home, and he hears the man shouting, You think you can misbehave and disobey me and I do nothing? One day, next time you disobey, I will crush your head against the wall. Okwir's father was always quarreling, was always fighting, beating children, beating his wife. So everybody in the village was used to this. But the grandmother, when she heard this, she was very worried. And every time she saw and heard this man bursting in anger, her heart went in sorrow because she had heard such words before. You see, one day, when Okwir's father, because Okwir now is a young boy, his father, who is now shouting, when he was still young, the grandmother had brought him white ants in groundnut paste because he liked it so much. When she arrived, what she saw, she will never forget. As soon as she entered the house with the white ants, expecting the grandson to come out jumping and happy, first she heard, the boy was crying. When the grandmother entered, the boy was lying in a corner, clutching her hands and crying. Looking next, the boy's mother was lying in the middle of the room, breathing slowly and actually unconscious. What had happened was that her son had beaten these people so badly, and as soon as the judge came in, the man, Okwir's father, stormed out and said, You think you can disobey me and I do nothing? Next time I will crush your head against that wall. So when this morning the grandmother heard these words, she was worried. She was worried because she had heard them before and something had happened. Anyway, that morning, the woman was saying, Now I have been hearing my son saying this. I did not do anything. Now look what he has done. Of course, for him, he went to look for alcohol to drink. The old woman picked the grandson Okwir, the mother, and took them to her home. Unfortunately, her action was too late for the mother. She died. So now here is Okwir living with the father, and he is shouting the same words the old woman had heard. And the grandmother is concerned that she did not act. But the reason she did not act was that her own husband, the father of Okwir's father, had also been beating her every day. So now here she was realizing the chain of aggression. The point is she started saying, I must now do something. I must make sure that this little boy does not go on in this suffering and eventually pass it on, and it becomes a generational inheritance. The question, therefore, is you and me. How many people do we know that are inflicting pain on others and we keep quiet? And let me tell you, what happens to you eventually when you grow up and consciously you start practicing the same thing. If we want violence to children to stop, we must make sure that the children we have now don't get any violence in their life.
Yes.
Then they will not have any reason, any source, any beginning of becoming violent in their own lives. So, today, that's the story. Let us stop violence. Let us stop violence against these wonderful ones. Let them have an opportunity to live, to smile. When they grow up, they will also make their children smile. Thank you for coming.